Hello everyone, you're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. It's Monday, November 7th. I'm Batsirin Namshir. Our top stories for News Mongolia. Teen Parliament 2022 program launched. The energy sector is facing a labor crisis. The President of Mongolia is taking part at the Sharm El-Sheikh Climate Implementation Summit on November 7th to 8th. For other news, stay tuned. The Teen Parliament 2022 program was launched at the Government Palace on Saturday, November 5th. Through the program, 91 9th to 12th grade students from all over Mongolia will gain knowledge about parliamentary processes, human rights, and energy efficiency.
The initiative is designed to bring the voices of young people into the legislative decision-making process. UNICEF has been supporting the Teen Parliament program since its initiation and advocates for strengthening youth engagement in human rights, education, healthy living, and energy efficiency. For the last few years, due to poor precipitation, the hydroelectric power plant in our region cannot provide heating and electricity to neighboring regions. I wanted to raise this issue and raise public awareness, including that of the parliament members and teens taking part in the program.
I advocate for making parliamentary education compulsory learning in schools. As we all know, during elections, the voter turnout for young people is the lowest. I think it's related to their poor knowledge of the elections, the parliamentary system, and legislation. We should improve their engagement by providing them with the necessary information.
I've noticed that people usually don't think about saving energy, but energy should be saved to maintain ecological balance. Saving energy not only saves money, but also creates opportunities for the next generation. Teen Parliament is a multi-stage program launched on November 20th of 2020, World Children's Day. Its first session was focused on air pollution and climate change awareness. I hope this program will help young people choose their career path. Nowadays, architects and engineers should be aware of the environment, ecology, and green urban planning. Even the agriculture sector is paying attention to creating less environmental pollution. Speaker of Parliament Zander Shatar is one of the initiators of the program. During the launch event, he delivered a lecture on the Constitution of Mongolia.
The Constitution of Mongolia states that citizens of Mongolia have the right to elect the members of the legislative body, in other words, members of parliament. So we all, as the members of Teen Parliament, are representing the interest of all Mongolian children.
Each program includes 6 weeks of training delivered by experts in each field, ranging from governance to the law and the environment. The training is followed by advocacy work when the children return to their schools and communities and generously share their knowledge with their peers.
Mongolia's energy sector is facing a labor shortage. Power plants with salary and social insurance debts are losing their staff to other companies that pay higher salaries. Around 16,000 people working in the energy sector are unable to receive state services due to unpaid social insurance taxes.
Darkhan and Sileng Province's power distribution network company employs over 400 workers. In 2022, 50 engineers and technical staff resigned due to low salaries, and younger professionals prefer other jobs with higher wages.
60% of our staff are usually young professionals. We hire our staff by headhunting from universities and colleges, and we train them and provide them with learning and work opportunities. But after 3 to 5 years of working for us, our young professionals leave for better salaries. I'm afraid that if this continues, our company will become some kind of training camp.
The major energy and power distribution companies and coal mines that provide coal to those companies have all been facing these human resource challenges.
In 2022, 20 of our engineers and technical workers resigned and chose to work for other companies with better salaries. Some even decided to work abroad, for example in South Korea. The main reason for this is, of course, the salary. We train our staff for at least 6 years, but after working for a few years, they leave. For example, the Ernit Mining Corporation, Town Tolga, or they leave to work abroad for a better salary.
Mongolia's energy sector is facing 200 billion Mongolian Turks in losses, including debts, salaries, taxes owed, and unpaid social insurance taxes. Officials say that due to low electricity and energy tariffs, it's practically impossible to increase salaries. Some power plants say they don't even have enough resources to purchase the coal they need to stay operational.
Our first priority is paying salaries. Then the next priority is purchasing raw materials or coal, but we also have contractors who supply us with necessary materials. We can forget about the meter.
Industry analysts say the energy sector's labor shortage was also caused by the government's poor social welfare policy. Energy sector professionals note the urgency and importance of bringing electricity tariffs closer to production costs.
You're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. Now let's take a look at Mongolia's current affairs.
During the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly First Committee meeting on October 28, 2022, the resolution Mongolia's international security and nuclear weapon-free status was adopted without a vote. The ambassador and permanent representative of Mongolia to the United Nations, His Excellency Mr. Ikhwalt Varshilov, introduced the draft resolution. In his statement, the ambassador noted that this year marks the 30th anniversary of Mongolia's nuclear weapon-free status and that this internationally recognized status is Mongolia's tangible contribution towards building a world free of nuclear weapons. Furthermore, the ambassador highlighted the importance of the 2012 declarations by the 5 nuclear weapon states of Mongolia's nuclear weapon-free status. Since 1998, the United Nations General Assembly has been considering and adopting a resolution on Mongolia's international security and nuclear weapon-free status biannually. At this year's first committee session, 46 member states co-sponsored the resolution. The President of Mongolia, Khursokhuna, is taking part in the 27th session of the Conference of Parties known as COP27, organized in Sharm El-Sheikh, Egypt. On this occasion, the President will express Mongolia's position in combating climate change, desertification and reducing global warming, and present the policies and activities implemented at national level. COP27, the 2022 United Nations Climate Change Conference, hosted by Egypt in Sharm El-Sheikh, will see delegates from around the world participate in the annual climate change negotiations. With over 40,000 estimated attendees, the summit is expected to host one of the largest number of participants in the annual Global Climate Conference, which is running from November 6th to 18th in Sharm El-Sheikh, Egypt.
Thank you for watching. Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at international news from our partner agencies. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida visited the aircraft carrier USS Ronald Reagan on Sunday for an international fleet review. 18 warships participated in the review from 12 countries, including the United States, Australia, Canada, India, New Zealand, Singapore, and South Korea, while the US and France also sent warplanes.
South Korea joined for the first time in 7 years in the latest sign of improvement in badly strained ties between Tokyo and Seoul over Japan's wartime actions. Kishida met with U.S. Ambassador to Japan Rahm Emanuel on the USS Ronald Reagan, the U.S. Navy's only forward-deployed aircraft carrier, off the U.S. naval base of Yokosuka. Ambassador Emmanuel said the U.S. forces will partake in probably one of the largest exercises with Japan forces.
I mean, we just finished an exercise with ROK. In a few days, we're going to start probably one of the largest exercises here with Japan forces, and there's nothing that can ever replace preparation because it has its own level of deterrence. And we're making that trilateral and bilateral exercises regular, routine, responsible, and it's resolute. And they've all taken notice.
Japan has steadily stepped up its international defense role and military spending over the past decade. Japan plans to double its military budget in the next 5 to 10 years to about 2% of its GDP, citing a NATO standard amid threats from North Korea and China's growing assertiveness. Kishida's government is currently working on a revision to its national security strategy and mid- to long-term defense policies, and is considering allowing the use of preemptive strike capability in a major shift to Japan's self-defense-only post-war principle.
One of the things that I would say here is what upsets China the most is we have allies, we have friends. They're expansive and extensive, and they do not. And that's why every time that we do things in a either bilateral capacity, trilateral capacity, or any other type of exercises that also brings in others, that puts China on their back heels because they realize the one thing they do not have is the one thing America has in abundance, and we work at it extensively.
Critics say allowing preemptive strike capability could violate Japan's pacifist constitution. Sunday's International Fleet Review marks the 70th anniversary of the founding of Japan's post-war navy called the Maritime Self-Defense Force, 7 years after Japan was demilitarized after its World War II defeat. The naval ships and warplanes were to participate in joint exercises late on Sunday and Monday. It was the first time Japan hosted an International Fleet Review in 20 years. China didn't take part in the review but is to participate in the 2-day Western Pacific Naval Symposium to be held in Yokohama from Monday. Naval officers from about 30 countries are expected to attend the gathering to discuss maritime security.
The head of the United Nations Migration Agency on Sunday urged the international community to mobilize human and financial resources to address growing climate migration.
Speaking on the sidelines of the UN climate conference COP27, Antonio Vitorino said there are millions of people across the world who are already suffering the impact of natural disasters and climate change. The Director General of the International Organization for Migration said he will ask leaders to invest in adaptation and building resistance in hard-hit nations.
What we believe is that the international community needs to mobilize the expertise, the human resources, but also the financial resources to come into support of those who are today already seriously impacted by climate change. My message is very clear. Investing today in adaptation, mitigation, preparedness, early warning, building resilience, it's much cheaper than if we let the situation deteriorate and we will have dramatic humanitarian crises in the future that can eat millions and millions of people in the world.
Each year, natural disasters force an average of 21.5 million people from their homes around the world, according to the United Nations. Scientists predict migration will grow as the planet gets hotter. Over the next 30 years, 143 million people are likely to be uprooted by rising seas, drought, searing temperatures, and other climate catastrophes, according to the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change report published this year. More than 40,000 participants have been registered for this year's talks, reflecting the sense of urgency as major weather events around the world impact many people and cost billions of dollars in repairs.
Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. Teenager Holger Rune stunned Novak Djokovic in the final of the Paris Masters on Sunday, winning 3-6, 6-3, 7-5 against the 21-time Grand Slam champion.
The 19-year-old Rune, playing in his first Masters 1000 final, lost the first set and came from a breakdown in the second to level the match. He then had to hold his nerve in the decider, breaking for a 6-5 lead before saving 6 break points to take the biggest title of his career. The victory makes Rune the youngest champion in Paris since Boris Becker in 1986 and sees him enter the top 10 of the world rankings for the first time.
Yeah, it's quite incredible to stay here with the trophy. It's an amazing feeling and something that was, tough to expect, starting the week off, having 3 match points down. And then now to be able to be here with this beautiful trophy is absolutely amazing feeling.
Hot on the heels of 19-year-old Carlos Alcaraz's main Grand Slam title at the US Open in September, Rune now looks set to join the Spaniard as another of the game's rising stars. Djokovic had said ahead of Sunday's final how Rune reminds me of myself, and in the final the Dan Dooley had to channel the mental toughness and never say die attitude that has characterized much of Djokovic's career. The victory capped off a superb week for Rune, having defeated 5 top 10 players over the course of the tournament, while also saving match points against Stan Wawrinka in the first round. When he won an epic 16-minute game to complete the victory against Djokovic, Rune lay on the floor and covered his hands over his face in disbelief.
Gareth Bale's dramatic late goal helped Los Angeles Football Club with the Major League Soccer Cup for the first time in a thrilling, frantic final against Philadelphia Union at Banc of California Stadium in Los Angeles.
Gareth Bale tied the score 3-3 on a dramatic header in the 8th minute of extra time stoppage time. Backup goalkeeper John McCarthy stopped 2 Philadelphia shots in the shootout, and the Los Angeles FC beat the Union 3-0 on penalty kicks to claim its first MLS Cup championship Saturday. After Bale came on as substitute in extra time and scored the tying goal for a 10-man LA, Dennis Boyanga, Ryan Hollingshead and Ilya Sanchez converted penalty kicks in the shootout, capping the most dramatic of MLS's 27 title games. LA became the 8th team in MLS history to win both the Supporters' Shield as regular season champion and the MLS Cup playoff tournament. Bale entered in the 97th minute and the 33-year-old scored in the 8th of a scheduled 9 minutes of stoppage time with a thrilling header of the Welsh superstar's 3rd MLS goal and first in 3 months. Bale, who left Real Madrid during the summer with an eye on the preparations for Wales World Cup appearance later this month, was getting his first minutes with LA since October 2nd.
No, of course it's a big team effort. I think we've been working hard, especially the boys from the start of the season have been working hard all season, and everybody has to chip in and do their bit, and it was nice to be able to help the team to get us to 3-3 and give us that opportunity to win the title, and happy to do so again.
The MLS Cup final was an appropriate postseason matchup between the league's best teams throughout the regular season and 2 of its most impressive organizations over the past half-decade. LAFC and Philadelphia finished on top of their respective conferences this year with an identical 67 points before surviving the 2-game postseason gauntlet to reach both clubs' first playoff championship game.
Now let's take a look at the weather forecast for the world's major cities. Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying with us. We'll see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Goodbye.